Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where the weekend after Thanksgiving was a quiet time for Hollywood, but not so much to reflect, more to stuff as much money into their cheeks as possible like little woodland creatures before Rogue One comes along, and maybe Office Christmas Party if people get really desperate this coming weekend. But what's interesting about Star Wars is that it's really reshaped December, because a perfect example of that is Moana versus Frozen. Now, I don't know if they're really at the same level. They are box office wise. Moana's numbers in comparison to Frozen are almost identical. However, you'll notice, or perhaps you won't notice, which is the whole point, that there's no Moana mania sweeping not just the nation, but the globe. There were Frozen YouTube videos, Frozen fan art going up everywhere. Just, everybody was talking about it nonstop. But all the Moana action right now is just at the multiplex. However, again, those box office numbers are identical. But with Frozen, that only had to contend with The Hobbit, the second Hobbit film, and then also to some degree, Hunger Games Catching Fire, the strongest of the Hunger Games movies. But that came out prior to Frozen, so made all its money largely up front. So because there was limited competition for Frozen, it was able to stay in the top 3 for 7 weeks, even popping back up into the number 1 spot a couple of times, including the first weekend of January. But now Star Wars has taken up that big, the middle of December, just sitting there like Jabba the Hutt, right? And it's Disney's own fault. They're eating their own films. But I guess their movies are so front-loaded these days that they can do it, right? They're like, oh yeah, let everyone see it right away because we got another one coming up in just a few weeks, guys. And that's certainly what they've done with Star Wars. Especially, well, I don't know if Rogue One is going to skew young, but, the main episodes certainly do, and so does animation. So we'll see what happens with Moana overall, if it can get to the heights of Frozen. And it just might get to the $1 billion club because while its overseas box office isn't so good, it's doing very weakly in China, it's also a slow rollout. It's not playing in a number of countries, as many of you are aware, because you can't see it. And that's the same thing that happened with Finding Dory. Finding Dory really took a long time swimming around the globe. And it looked like for a little bit there like it wasn't going to join the $1 billion club, but it did. In fact, it ended up doing quite well. But that's thanks to a very strong domestic haul, and we're having a little bit of a problem with domestic numbers right around now. Let's discuss. Let's head over to Fantastic Beasts, where that conversation's going to start to take shape. All right, so first off with Fantastic Beasts, the good news is that it's doing very well overseas. It's the number 1 movie in the foreign market for the 3rd week in a row, and it pulled in $60.4 million this weekend. As you can see, the overseas numbers, that's on the entire planet Earth outside of the United States. That's what it pulled in. So as you can see, that's one of the reasons that it goes like US, China, and then everybody else, because the numbers just aren't big enough. But when you put them together, as you're about to see, they get very effective. So Fantastic Beasts is doing very nicely overseas, and it's up to 607 worldwide, and it's been out for just about 3 weeks. That's very impressive. However, in comparison to the Harry Potter franchise, it still hasn't gotten on the board. The lowest Harry Potter worldwide box office is the 3rd film, Azkaban, Prisoner of Azkaban, with 796.7, just a smidge under 800. And that, interestingly enough, was their first summer release in the franchise, which turned out not to be a good fit with Harry Potter, the brand. And that just emphasizes the importance of release date and release date patterns. Disney has their Thanksgiving movies. Harry Potter comes out in, November. That's a November film. And then Star Wars, we'll see. Star Wars is going to experiment with summer with Han Solo. They might live to regret that. Although Han Solo does really seem like a summer movie. But I think the casting's maybe not turning out so well over there, so it might not make a difference. Or it might just be Star Wars, so who cares when you release it? You can do it anytime you want. But Fantastic Beasts, it's number 2, but it dropped pretty big in its 3rd week. It almost dropped 60%, and it's only up to 183.5 domestically. Now, the lowest the Harry Potter, the franchise, did domestically was again Azkaban with 249.5. So the fact that Fantastic Beasts will just maybe barely get to 200 isn't such a great sign. That's a little scary. And Doctor Strange is having a similar dilemma. Now, Doctor Strange, Number 5 domestically, its fifth week, it dropped 53%, also coming to the end of its run in the United States. It's settling in with around 215.3. Now, when you turn your attention to Doctor Strange's worldwide numbers, at first glance, it looks very healthy. But when you do a little digging, you see maybe a sickness in the domestic box office. Allow me to explain. All right, so worldwide, Doctor Strange has so many numbers in front of me. Doctor Strange has 634.9 million. Ooh, that's a nice number, especially since it's only 6 weeks into its run, and it's closing in on the entire run of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, a real game changer of a movie. And that was Cap's second film, no less. It put the Russo brothers on the map, changed the course for the entire MCU. So for the very first film for a character to be within striking distance and potentially surpass that movie, oh, it's so exciting for Scott Derrickson. But I think Kevin Feige would have still a way to negotiate down Derrickson's pay on the sequel by looking at the domestic versus overseas numbers. And if I were Kevin Feige, I'd just be a little concerned about this overall. So overseas, Doctor Strange is up to 419.6, which is very, very close to the 454.5 of Winter Soldier, and even of Guardians of the Galaxy with 440.2. So why isn't Doctor Strange already at the same level as them worldwide, or having surpassed them? Well, it's because its domestic numbers are so much lower. Again, settling in around 215.3, whereas Guardians of the Galaxy did 333.2 domestic, and Captain America: Civil War did 408.1 million domestic. Yikes! And so also, the good thing about Civil War is that it shows that was the same year that, maybe it's just the solo movie, something's happening here. But for like the really big movies, the crossover, the big, the crown jewel of the MCU for 2016, the domestic audience still showed up. Now, if you want to have a really healthy blockbuster, your domestic numbers should be in the 300s. Most of the big movies for 2016 so far, at least, are in the 300s. Like Suicide Squad just made it in there, right? Now, for this year, only Dory and Cap, again just Disney, are in the 400 million range. However, movies can go even higher domestically. Jurassic World went to 600 million range, and The Force Awakens, which is obviously unusual, got into 900 million domestic alone. So that gives you an idea as you watch the box office what a blockbuster needs to get to. That, while Fantastic Beasts and Doctor Strange, their worldwide numbers look great, their domestic numbers are shockingly far from the 300 mark. So if I were both Warner Brothers and Disney, I'd want to take a closer look at that. Then, speaking of overseas box office, I got to mention Your Name, and this was the best place that it fit into the episode. This is the Japanese anime movie. I reviewed it on Friday. Fantastic film. And it continues to make headlines. It just opened in China, huge hit, $41 million opening, way more than Moana, for instance. And that brings its worldwide total to 243.1, which now makes it the second highest grossing film ever to come out of Japan worldwide. Spirited Away, still number one with 274.9, but oh, Your Name is getting awfully close, and it still hasn't hit the United States, or actually a number of countries. As I said in my review on Friday, I hope you'll check that out, link down below in the video description. I think that Funimation, which is releasing it stateside, they have a qualifying release that just started this past weekend, so it can be nominated for award season, but they want to be able to say Oscar nominated, potentially Oscar winner, when they do release it with the English dub. Now, as for movies that were released this weekend, there was just one, Incarnate. Typically, nothing gets released this weekend, right after Thanksgiving, because people feel everyone's doing shopping. They're still recuperating from their Thanksgiving shenanigans, and also there's enough fare for them to go, I guess it's Hollywood being nice to each other, being like, go see someone else, another studio's movie, come see my movie, come on, we'll give you another chance because we know that maybe you might have missed something, right? So with Incarnate, though, I think Aaron Eckhart, probably says, De Niro and Hopkins make it look easy being a paycheck actor. But Aaron Eckhart's certainly a paycheck actor on a lower scale. And he is collecting paychecks, so I'm sure he has a very nice house. Now, this is another Jason Blum smash and grab. These movies are made very cheaply. This one cost just $5 million, although I don't think anybody would be surprised to hear that. I'd be like, and did like 2 of that go to Aaron Eckhart? But anyway, they've tried to experiment with the release strategy here with High Top releasing. Although I'd be like, why bother to experiment? High Top can't launch anything. But they did something like mostly digital advertising. They tried to keep the budget way down, and they were like, maybe it'll work. We've discovered a new way to release movies. And no, they didn't. As for the top 10 overall, the best holds were Arrival and Hacksaw Ridge. Arrival falling just a little over 36% in its fourth week, and Hacksaw a little under 39% in its fifth week. Both very good for them with awards season. It makes them look great, keeps them in the headlines. It means people are checking out the films. Word of mouth obviously is very healthy, so they're hoping to have that turn into, awards buzz. So far, I have to say, Arrival's gotten a little bit, haven't seen a lot for Hacksaw as, critics associations, etc., begin to release their picks for the year. And that kind of signals how the voting's going to go. Then Allied, though, that did not have a good hold. I remember everyone last weekend when it came out was like, oh, don't worry, adults will find it. And it has awards buzz. None of that's materializing. The movie cost $85 million to make. It has only $53 million worldwide so far. Totally bombed in China, where Brad Pitt's supposed to be a big star. And I think that this is just really bad timing for Brad Pitt, speaking of the actor, because, of course, it comes right after the whole situation with Angelina Jolie. And a number of people will, of course, say, oh, it hurt him. I still don't think it hurt him. I think this movie was poorly advertised. I think it was poorly conceived. And I think it just also didn't look that good. And I think if Brad Pitt is depressed or just looking for something to do because he has a lot of free time now because he doesn't have a family anymore, basically, sadly, I hope that things work out, I would advise him to throw all of his time into getting that World War Z sequel going, because he really needs that to re-energize his career, as it did the first round. It's still the most successful movie he's ever made. Then back to awards season, Jackie debuted in 5 theaters with a 55,000 per theater average. That's solid enough for a nomination. I don't know about a win, but I don't know about a win for Jackie either. I'm starting to see people start to turn on it. New York One came on the other day, and I saw their film panel just absolutely trashing it, except for one lone guy who was defending it. I am having a problem even making myself go to see it. It just seems so horribly pretentious. So I think it might have actually peaked during festival season, and it's going to maybe lose a lot of momentum. Something else that's hurting it is that Isabelle Huppert for Elle has tremendous momentum. Everybody's picking her for Best Actress of the Year so far, so I think that she's probably going to get it. She doesn't have a win, and she doesn't even have a nomination for the Oscars, so they love that. That makes her a great candidate. And Portman already won, so that actually works against her. Also for awards season, the two frontrunners continue to be Manchester by the Sea and Moonlight. Tremendous momentum. Everybody loves these two movies. Manchester by the Sea, it expanded its theater count. It got up to number 11, knocking at the door of the top 10. It's riding the buzz quite well. That's how you ideally want to release a film, to go from limited to wide during awards season. And this is very exciting because this is roadside attractions for Amazon, and they are doing a fabulous job. This is the kind of thing you usually see from Focus or Fox Searchlight. So to see these new players be able to pull it off is pretty amazing. Also, Moonlight, it might have crested in terms of buzz. It's number 14. It never got into the top 10, but it might have done what it already needed to do, because it is getting a lot of nominations and awards already. But if it's crested and it starts to not do so well and it isn't a financial success, that could be the difference between nominations and wins. As for this coming weekend, La La Land arrives, another huge awards contender. It's finally starting to get some wins. Some people are naming it Best Picture. Woo! It was looking kind of bad there for a while, with everybody just talking about Manchester by the Sea and Moonlight. But it'll debut again in 5 theaters. And then for wide releases, Miss Sloane will go wide. That's trying to, fight during awards season. It's not going so well. That's from EuropaCorp, Luc Besson's company. Roadside Attractions and Amazon doing a great job releasing a film in the States. EuropaCorp, not so much. And then Office Christmas Party is a big release. They're pushing it so hard. You can't say you didn't know that it was coming out, because the ad campaign has been really in your face. Cover of Entertainment Weekly, Saturday Night Live, Jennifer Aniston showed up over the weekend. They are really working hard. But they're only expected to get a $17 million opening, which would, I think, likely mean that Moana or Fantastic Beasts, likely Moana could maybe still be number 1 next weekend. But it also puts it right in the same ballpark as Almost Christmas, which opened with $15 million a few weeks ago. I think Office Christmas Party is going to do a little better, because, again, people will be just starved for a movie at that point. It's holiday themed. It looks kind of funny from the trailers. But if it doesn't do well, if it really only does pull in 17, that's just like a really, Jason Bateman better be happy they're probably going to make Zootopia 2, because that would not bode well for his film career, or actually the film careers of anyone involved. At least T.J. Miller has the Deadpool franchise. So what are you planning to see this coming weekend? Write your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for going over the box office with me, and you can check out some more videos right now.